Hi there, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to do some cabling and to solve some issues with cabling with the Knitmaster 100. Here I am doing an open edge cast on, and I'm just going to do about 6 rows. Here I have the tension dial on 10, and the reason I have it on 10 because I was finding it very difficult to knit on the 14, and I found it much easier to knit when I turned the dial down to make it the tension tighter. And the reason for this is actually the yarn. The yarn, as you can see, is actually stretching, and because it's on a higher tension, it didn't want to knit very well. The moment I put it on a lower tension, it basically stretched the yarn and made it knit much easier. Sometimes you've just got to test the yarns to see if they work. I found some vintage yarn that I had, and I realized that the yarn that they did when this machine was made was much different to the yarn that they make today. When I was doing cabling, I realized it was quite difficult to do cables, and I wanted to find a solution so I could do the cabling process. And then I realized what you could do is actually make a kind of elongated stitch, and you can just make a shorter elongated stitch, and then you just bring the needles forward and then you work out the elongated stitch. The elongated stitch I've done before, and I just wanted to do it again so that I could do the cabling. The cabling is very difficult to knit as it bunches up on the top, and it was really difficult to knit with. The moment I elongated the stitch, it made it easier to do cabling, and I was able to actually do quite a good cable. This process is quite slow. Every 6 rows that I was kind of doing for the cabling, it does take a bit more time. But if you really want to do cabling with the more difficult yarn, this is a way to do it. It's all really about the yarn. So sometimes you just got to test the brains to see which actual yarn will actually work. Some of them work and some of them don't work. This yarn is a double knit. I won't be giving name brains because there is a lot of brains out there, and one just has to try and test it and see how it works. Here I am making the elongated stitch, but I'm trying to measure it as best as possible so that I can get the best kind of knitting for this machine. And just to, it's just trial and error so that you can get it to try and be even. I did find that the knitting wasn't as great as I hoped it would be as I was going along, because it just kind of made a line. But if you want to use that line as a decorative aspect, then it can actually look quite good. Here I am now doing the cabling. I was a little bit slow with it as the camera was in front of me. But overall it went quite easily. I wasn't really concentrating too much on which way the cable was going, so I was just trying to practice and see how it works. The cabling was a little bit tricky, just to hold it, but after a while I started to get used to it, and then the cabling went much easier. When I was looking at the yarn, I realized that they must have done a kind of crimping process to make the yarn look a little bit more wider, and that I suppose was just to make it fill a bit more when you actually knit it by hand. The double knit that I'm using is actually hand yarn. It's not actually machine knitting yarn as such, so it's something you've got to look at when you are selecting your yarns. Here I'm actually doing the 6 rows. I found when you were doing the 6 rows, it could otherwise be on the left or the right, and you just got to adjust how you do your elongated stitch from whatever side you're working from. Here I am doing a repeat of the elongated stitch. Here I'm just practicing again, just to make slightly shorter elongated stitches. You know, it's just a case of practice makes perfect to get the right elongated stitch. So it won't show much of a line, but you can also do your cables. I found with the tension of the yarn over the needles, if you hold it a little bit more tighter, you can control the elongated stitches a little bit, and you can also make them a little bit more even as you do the process. Here I dropped a stitch, so you just watch your stitches and make sure that it's all even, and just make sure that nothing gets dropped. I did drop a few stitches, and then, you know, to fix them can be quite difficult, especially when you're doing the cabling. One of the reasons why I wanted to use this machine is because with the double knits you can get so many colors. I really love color a lot, and I really like to pay attention to that, and I just wanted to fix this machine and use this machine so that I could do samples and actually do knitwear where I can actually use the double knit. And because there's so many different colors, you can think of so many varieties and patterns that you can do. This video is much longer than what I thought. I just had to show you as much as possible the process involved, and just give you an inkling about how it works, how the stitches work. I also realized that because the yarn was slightly thicker than I thought, you just had to watch the drop stitches. I had to actually pull it down and then take the actual loops off in order to do the cables. Here I'm showing you after you've done your cables how uneven it is. So you just push the needles forward a little bit so you can knit a much more even row. Here I am doing the elongated stitch, but I did not move the carriage over. It's better to move the carriage over first and then do your elongated stitch. Just make sure when you move the needles forwards that the loops don't get caught up on the pegs. Here I am showing you every time you need to do an elongated stitch, you have to move the actual carriage to the other side so that you can actually do the elongated stitch. It's a little bit time consuming, but after a while it just gets a little bit easier. Here is the actual cables. It came out really well. You can see a kind of a line with the elongated stitch, and but overall it looked really good. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. I'm not sure what project I'm going to do next. I'm just going to have a look at a few things and then see what I'm going to do next with this machine. Thank you very much, and all the best.